Maureen Rogers from Laurel Playhouse, and this is Curtain Call. And really pleased that today we have the director and some actors from Another Door Opens. It's an original work by Jeff Dunn. Normally in January we do original works, so if you have an original play that you'd like to suggest to us, please give us a call or email. Our number is on the website. But right now we have Rick Bergman, who's the director, who is fairly new to the Laurel Mill Playhouse scene, but you've been very busy, haven't you?
That's putting it mildly.
Let's see, what have you done so far? You started with the one act,
I did.
right?
I started with 5 courses, and then just little things here and there, and then of course Oliver,
right?
Which was huge.
It was definitely a successful run of Oliver. Sold out houses. It was wonderful.
Absolutely.
You were the assistant director on that.
I was, as well as the set designer and lighting design. So
a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. But that that's a big show. That's 30 cast members, so that's a lot of wrangling.
Yeah, it was huge. We certainly packed them in. Yeah. So you came to me because you wanted to direct a show, and I was looking for a director for our January non-published works, is what we call it. And this was written by Jeff Dunn, who really has done a lot of work around the local area. He's even had a show produced in Florida, and he won something in the Poconos, and they produced one of his shows there. I think at one time he had 6 shows going at the same time. So we're really fortunate to have him let us do his work. Now, I gave you several of his plays, right?
You sent me 2, and I read both of them, and really for me to read a script cover to cover within an hour is unusual, and I read both of them back to back. What I found about his writing is that it's quirky, and it's a little off, and it's strange, and that's what I liked about it. So I was very excited.
So why this particular play over the other one? What really appealed to you?
Well, this particular play is a little bit of science fiction, which I like, but also the other one had a character that 90% of her dialogue she sang, and they were Eagles lyrics. And I had to decide whether or not I wanted to spend 8 weeks listening to Eagles songs being sung, whether good or bad, by an actress. And I said, let's try that for another time. I like the Eagles. I don't know if I'd want to hear them 3 nights a week being sung live.
Okay, so you changed that part.
so that's why when Another Door came along, the other one is more of a mystery. It's so it was very funny, had some good characters, but this one it was more quirky, and I like quirky.
So can you tell us about the story without giving it all away?
Yes, it's set after a nuclear holocaust, which, when you think comedy, you don't think nuclear holocaust. Right. An artificial intelligence named Alice has created 2 androids, Ralph and Whitney. Ralph is patterned on Ralph Cramden from The Honeymooners. Oh. And Whitney is patterned on the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. So there's a connection to Alice in both of those characters, because Ralph Cramden's wife was Alice, and the White Rabbit is from Alice in Wonderland. And how the nuclear holocaust came about is the program that she had created that was her quote-unquote son was the program that ultimately started the nuclear holocaust. And she has decided that to redeem herself, she's going to repopulate the planet with the people that were left. So she had them cryogenically frozen until the nuclear waste had dissipated, and now she's trying to revive them. Unfortunately, she's gotten down to the last batch, and the 4 characters, Paul, Abby, Ruby, and Kenneth, are her lone survivors, and she's trying to repopulate the planet with these 4 people.
That sounds very interesting.
It is.
Now, did you have any difficulty casting it?
I did, actually, and the difficulty was I had a lot of good actors that brought a lot to different parts, and so trying to decide My thing as a director is I often like to work with new actors and inexperienced actors because one, they have no bad habits, but also I like to watch them learn to grow and to create different things. And so I chose a mix of actors I had worked with before and actors that were new to myself as well as the Playhouse. And that gives me kind of a balance. So I know that I can work with these people and allow some creative freedom. And then I know where I can draw the line on certain people. The main character of Paul was interesting because every male that came in to read it read him in a specific way, and it was the way I had read him in my head when I read the play. And then the actor ultimately cast read it in a totally different manner and gave it a totally different personality than I had even put together in my own head. And that was the reason I cast him, because he did something nobody else did, and it struck me as very interesting as to where I thought he would go with the part by doing it that way.
Great, great. Now, how long does this last? Is there an intermission in it?
There is an intermission. It's 2 acts, 5 scenes in the first act and 4 scenes in the second. Right now we're clocking it right at 2 hours.
Including the intermission?
Including the intermission. So I think we should be good there. It moves pretty quickly. I mean, it's not a slow play at all.
Right, good. And did you design the set?
I did. I designed the set with a friend of mine named Gary Heath. And I met Gary. I've known Gary Heath since I was a child because I grew up with his daughter, and we had done a bunch of shows. I used to be the president and producer of the Prince George's Summer Teen Theater, which for a time was the longest running teen theater in the country. And they were around for about 47 years. I was in charge from 2002 to 2011.
I've heard about them, yep.
And so I met Gary Gary actually brought me into that program. He called me in 1999 when they were doing South Pacific and said, I need a stage manager. And he said, it'll only be 2 or 3 nights a week. It's not that much work. He lied.
They all lie.
It ended up being many, many years. But it gave me a different perspective because up until then I was pretty much an actor. I had done some backstage work, but for the most part I was pretty much an actor and a director occasionally. And being a stage manager gave me a whole different perspective on what I could do in terms of creativity and things like that. So when I got this job, I knew the first person to call would be Gary, because Gary has been my set designer for years whenever I've needed something.
So which do you like better, acting or directing?
I like directing because as an actor, you get to create one character, and and that's great. And I love creating a character. But as a director, you get to create a vision. You get to put something on stage that you get your hand in a little bit of everything, because you get to work with the actors and help shape their performance. You get to design the set and the lights, the costumes. You have a hand in all of that. And putting together that vision is what makes it so fun.
That's great. I hadn't thought about that. You just have that one part as an actor, but a director, you've got everything.
Absolutely.
So during the day, what is your regular daytime job?
I run the writing lab or the writing center at Paint Branch High School. Myself and another colleague, Dr. Victoria Koenig, are the 2 writing gurus for the school, so to speak. And so that is my full-time job. I am also the news director for the Beltsville News, which has been a local newspaper since 1967.
Oh, my heavens.
So I've been doing that for a few years as well. And then, just volunteering here and there for different organizations.
Now, you direct kids, too, at Paint Branch?
I do not direct at Paint Branch. I have been the artistic director at Parkland Middle School for the last 16 years. And actually, this is my last year as their artistic director. I worked there for 15 years, and when I moved to Paint Branch, they asked me to stay on to have a transition time until I felt comfortable leaving. And this year, I had told them, I said, I think it's time for me to move on. I developed the program from its roots, and the person that I work with is a very talented director and choreographer. And I think it's time to let her take the reins and make the program something she wants to make it blossom even further.
Great, great. That's awesome. What do you plan to do next at Laurel Mill Playhouse?
Whatever you'll allow me to.
What would you like to do, I should say?
I would like to, honestly, I would like to do a musical. I think musicals are fun. One of my favorite is A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And the reason that I like that is because it breaks the fourth wall. You get to do a little audience interaction. It's very funny. It's got a very easy set. And it's one of those things that when people come to see it, they walk out smiling ear to ear every single time. And it's just one of those fun, old-fashioned musicals.
It definitely is. Which brings to mind the difference at Laurel Mill Playhouse's set or stage versus wherever else you've worked. That must be a huge difference.
What I love about Laurel Mill is the challenge of working in a small space. And, you know, with Oliver, myself and the director, John Cusimano, had many, many set designs over many, many months. We talked endlessly from probably about July until almost the end of October about what we would like to do and what we would like to see. And what clicked for us is when we decided to do it as a black box production, which is rare for a musical. And once we clicked into that black box idea, we could really literally make the stage anything we wanted at any time. And so what we ended up doing was having an alcove with a bridge in it and lighting that was done by lanterns. And
Which were awesome, by the way.
Thank you. And it gave an introspective and a depth to the set that isn't necessarily there. Originally, the whole building was going to be painted cobblestone, which would have taken a long time.
Yeah.
But you know, the black box idea really worked, and it gave us an into the show that we never dreamed of when we started that production.
Yeah, I thought the black box worked really well. You know, with the fact that it just the people stand out and the props and the set pieces stand out. Your attention is focused on them.
Absolutely.
So it worked really well. So kudos to both you and
you.
John. On this set, will it be black box? Or?
This set is also black box. It will have some doors that, hopefully, if everything works out, will slide and appear to slide on their own. But this is a very simple set compared to Oliver. It is some basic tables and chairs, and it's really set in 3 different rooms within the fallout shelter that Alice has created. There's an infirmary set, which is pretty much just a small hospital bed and just an area of lighting. There is a closet set, which the characters hide into to be able to talk about Alice, the artificial intelligence, without being heard by Alice. And then the main set is it's a common room that's designed to look like a cafeteria that Alice has created so that they have a place to play and to interact with each other and to eat as well.
So what have you liked most about working with this set of actors?
We're always laughing. We're always finding
that
things to laugh
bodes well
at.
for us.
Yes. This set of actors came in, and I gave them a lot of creative freedom because it is an unknown play. So there's no expectation of, oh, that character should always act like this. And letting them find things in the moment and find things with the props. And, you know, I'm a prop person. I throw a lot of props at people and let them play with things to see how it works out. But also letting them experiment with costuming and things like that, because this is a kind of show that you can do that with. Right. And so that is, watching them create on the fly and do things has been really fun.
You've got a great bunch of actors. So
I do.
Really pleased. What is the one thing you would say to the theater goers as to why they should see this particular comedy?
Because, it's funny, but I guarantee you've never seen anything quite like it. It's got a nice message to it at the end. If you're a parent, the message at the end really will hit home. And it's one of those little off-the-wall, quirky things that you don't see very often. And so it's something different.
That's great. That's great. Well, I hope that you will all come and see this. We are going to talk in the next segment to a couple of Rick's actors, and I know you will enjoy it. And I'm sure that you'll be seeing a lot of Rick Bergman around Laurel Mill Playhouse. He's already made himself indispensable.
Thank you.
So we'll be back in just a minute. Thank you.
For history, entertainment, great shopping and dining, Laurel's historic downtown Main Street is where you'll find it. The iconic Laurel Railroad Station is an important part of the community that preserves Laurel history. Catch a glimpse of both the historic train stop on the East End and the mill houses on the West End during the Laurel Walking Tour. And be sure to stop at the Laurel Museum, which is open for tours. Every May, large crowds fill downtown Laurel for the popular Main Street Festival. Great food, music, and even greater company are what guests come back to year after year. However, Main Street is something to be enjoyed every day of the year. With numerous boutiques and gift shops, that won't be hard to do. Stroll down Laurel's historic Main Street and discover the heart of the community.
Hello, welcome back to Curtain Call, and I'm pleased to say that we have two actors from Another Door Opens, and we've been having some good fun here even before the camera came on. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and what part you play? Start with you.
My name's Beth Bell, and I am Abby in the play, and I'm an architect. Nope, I'm an accountant. You're the architect.
You see what I mean?
Accountant.
Great, stealing all my... My name is Ken Krentz. I play Paul, and I am an architect.
He's the architect.
So what brought you to Laurel Mill Playhouse to try out for this show, number one? It was an unknown show. It's by Jeff Dunn. What appealed to you about coming out?
I believe we did a reading of one of Jeff's plays a year or so ago, and in the theater. So I'm a little familiar with him, but I didn't know much about the show, and I was. But now, it's something silly, funny, and very entertaining, I think. So I'm glad I, auditioned and got a part.
Oh, great. And Beth?
I just moved to the area, and my husband and I saw Spiderweb over
Awesome.
Halloween time,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, well, this is close to where I live. I'd like to try out for something. So it's only my second play ever. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, and
Everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
exactly. And just like Ken said, it is hilarious. Our fellow actors, they just crack me up.
They're
Everyone's
crazy.
got great timing, and yeah, it's going to be a really funny show.
Yeah, Kevin's was in Oliver, so he's a great actor too. I'm sure this one's doing a lot of cut-ups on the stage too.
It
So how is it working for Rick? Since he's not here, we can talk about him.
Oh my gosh, you go first.
Rick is great. He's giving us a pretty free rein to like try stuff and be crazy. I know accountants aren't all that crazy, but
Yeah.
I also get to play the person who's confused and in denial, and so that's really fun for me to explore, just wondering what everyone else is talking about and not being quite in on the plan, so that's fun.
Yeah, it does sound like that.
Yeah.
So you're not like that person at all.
I hope not. I'm sure I have my ditzy moments, but overall, not so much.
And Ken, what about the character that you're playing?
Paul is rather sarcastic. I don't know if that's me or not, but so that's one of his things, and he is. I don't know. I mean, during rehearsals, we get. That says we got a really good chance to explore our characters and.
To try out things,
Right.
different
Different
ways
things.
of doing that.
Right, and I need to get. I know for myself, I know I need to be a little bit bigger. So, and as as we get closer to the show, my character will hopefully be a wild and crazy guy who's sarcastic.
That's great when that director gives you that freedom and they don't put you in that little box and you can explore, because it really comes out better, I think. Are you going to be wearing any unusual costumes for this, or are you just going to be, let's see, it's architect and
Accountant. I think the humans will be in like normal street clothes,
Okay.
but the androids will look different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were cryogenically frozen just before the world was obliterated. I'm sure Rick probably told you that. So I don't know if they just rushed us into this area and froze us or if we were unconscious or we know what happened before. But
Yeah,
we
you
just
think you
kinda
might be in like hospital gowns or something, you know.
right.
But maybe you were in just regular
That would
street
be
clothes.
embarrassing.
Yeah. That would be something different. So how do you like, of course, Ken, I know you've worked on the stage before, but how do you like working on a small stage like that? Is that different for you?
It is different. It's interesting because it is a small space, but there's also so few of us, 7 total, and we're hardly ever all on stage at the same time. So there's room to move and to pace and to interact. And I think our set, like things on stage, will be pretty minimal, it sounds like. So it's more interacting with each other rather than like props and stuff.
Right,
which
right.
is interesting.
And Ken, you've worked on the stage before. I mean, the audience is pretty close. How do you feel
Very
about
close.
that?
Well, it's weird because when you're on the stage and the lights are on you, you really can't see. You can barely see the front row. Everybody else in the back is in the dark. So it doesn't really affect myself too much. So.
Yeah, I really can't see beyond the front row. I try not to see the people. I don't want to see them. But it's different. I did a play on that stage, and then did a play on the same play on a much bigger stage, and remember almost having to run across the big stage to get where I was before. So, but now I like this. I like the intimacy. Laurel Mill Playhouse's motto is every seat is like front row. So you're close all the time.
It really is.
So where did you do your other play, and what was it?
I moved here from Washington State, so in Tri-Cities, if anyone's heard of that, I'm from there. I did The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I was in the ensemble.
Great. So the musical? We're talking about doing that in 2018.
Oh.
19, I'm sorry, 2019, or past 18.
You know, it's kind of a sad show, but it was very fun to be in.
Yeah. I got the perusal script, so I'll have to talk to you about that and see if
love
that
to.
would be a possibility. That's and Ken, you've been in a lot of shows with
you, like Oh Here Comes Christmas. When you talk about the stage too, I mean, we did it the first time at a larger venue, and then we came back to Laurel Mill and did it there. And I think I enjoyed that better, just the intimacy.
Yeah, that was a great fun show to do. We'll have to. But we were interrupted a lot by the snow, as I remember.
Exactly. Which this opens January 4th.
Yep, January the 4th, and it goes for 3 weekends. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 weekends. So it's really February that we start to get a little crazy with the snow, I think. So it's that Washington's birthday weekend. It always seems to be an issue. So what other shows had you done? You did Oh Here Comes Christmas, Bell Book and Candle. Before Burtonsville Players, you did. Was it Arsenic and Old Lace you did?
Arsenic and Old Lace. I played Laurie in, what was it?
Little Women. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then...
The mellifluous voice.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful voice. That's the first thing I told my husband after our first rehearsal. He has got a great voice.
Thank you.
It sends me to sleep every time.
Great.
Well,
So
look out
the
on
audience will be falling asleep. Something to expect.
But they'll be happy about it.
They'll be happy and asleep. No, he does really have a good voice. He would be good for voiceovers and stuff. It's a great voice. So when people come to see the show, what are you going to say about the show that would encourage them to come and see you all?
I would say, I don't want to give a whole lot away, although Rick probably has already, but it's a silly show. It's funny, but it's also, I don't know if poignant is the correct word, but toward the end, it's a little different. So.
Okay. Oh, I'm intrigued.
I think, like Ken said, it's just fun and entertaining, and there's going to be a lot of laughs. And yeah, the ending makes you think. When we're going through it on stage, I'm thinking like, what would I, like if this were actually happening to me, how would I respond? It's really interesting, I guess, twist of how life could be.
Yeah, yeah. I understand Jeff is just back in town, so perhaps you'll be able to meet him next
That'd
week.
be awesome.
Yeah, so he's done a lot of plays. He's becoming famous now. So thank you all so much for coming and being at Curtain Call, and I look forward to seeing you. Happy rehearsing.
Thank you.
And again, the show starts on January the 4th and runs through January the 20th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Be sure and get your tickets ahead of time online at www.laurelmillplayhouse.org. And if you have an original play you'd like to submit, just send it to Laurel Mill Playhouse. Their address is on the website. Thanks again.